friends, today we're going to be looking at lesson 9, the solutions of inequalities homework. And so we're going to walk through kind of my thought process about how to answer these questions. So number 1 says, select all numbers that are solutions to the inequality k is greater than 5. So in this problem, we're looking for numbers that are greater than 5. So is 4 greater than 5? No, 4 is less than 5. Is 5 greater than 5? No, 5 is less. 5 is the same as 5. Is 6 greater than 5? Yes, 6 is greater than 5. Is 5 and 2/10 greater than 5? Yes, 5 and 2/10 is greater than 5. Is 5 and 100 greater than 5? Yes, 5 and 100 is greater than 5. And is 5/10 greater than 5? No, it's not. So 6, 5 and 2/10, and 5 and 100 are numbers that are greater than 5. We're now going to draw a number line to represent possible solutions. So we've been practicing this in class. So here's 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Because 5 is not included, it's going to be an open circle, and then I'm going to show an arrow indicating that any number that's less than 5 is a solution to this inequality. All right? So that's for number 2. For number 3, it says a sign on the road says the speed limit is 60 miles per hour. Let S be the speed of the car. Write an inequality that matches the information of the sign. So speed limits we typically think of as suggestions. Some people, they drive 5 over, they make their own rules, but speed limits are really designed because that's the speed you should be going that's safe. And it's not necessarily a suggestion, it's more of this is the, maximum that you should do to be safe on the road. So for this inequality, I'm going to write S is less than, right, 60 or equal to 60. Because it says 60 miles per hour, I would say that you could go 60 and that would be safe, right? 60 miles is the limit that you want to go. So it can be less than or equal to 60 and you would be perfectly fine. So to draw a number line to represent this, I'm going to draw a number line. I'm going to count by tens to make it easy for me. And because 60 is included in my actual inequality, I'm going to shade that circle in, and any number that's less than that is a possible value. Now, I will say this, that's theoretically, right? Theoretically, that is likewise for that to be possibility is not true because it's not necessarily safe for you to drive 30 in a 60 mile an hour zone. Because other people are driving the speed limit, and that's just going to be a cause for concern. So C says, could 60 be a value of S, and explain your reasoning. Since the speed limit is 60 miles per hour, then 60 is a possible solution, as 60 is the limit. To safely drive. Right? And so putting that in perspective, so you can drive 60 and be perfectly fine. People drive more than 60, that does cause some concern for other people, but for the math, we're going to treat it as safety, the reason for that. So one day in Boston, the high temperature was 60 degrees Fahrenheit, and the low temperature was 52 degrees Fahrenheit. Write one or more inequalities to describe the temperatures, T, that are between high and low temperatures on that day. So I'm going to write, it says one or more, I'm going to write T has to be, so that are between the high and the low temperature. So T is less than 60, that's one inequality, but T has to be greater than 52. So when it says between, you do not include the values because you're looking for numbers that are between that. Another way, an easier way to do this is to say that, T is less than, or T is greater than 52 but less than 60. It's another way to look at that as well. So you can write one or you can write two separate ones. That's perfectly fine. says show the possible temperatures for the day on the number line. So, possible solutions, right? I'm going to count by tens again. That's my interval that I want to count by. Just makes my life a little easier. So, I'm looking for, I'm graphing this. Remember, it does not include these values. So I'm going to put an open circle around 52, and I'm going to put an open circle around 60. And that little area right there are possible solutions. On number 5, it says select all the true statements. So this says -5 is less than the absolute value of -5, which is true. The absolute value of 6 is less than -5. That is false, because this is 6 units away from 0, and that is just -5, which is 5 units away from 0. This is a positive number. That's a negative number when you evaluate it. This says the absolute value of -6 is less than 3. That's also not true. 4 is less than the absolute value of -7. This is true. The absolute value of -7 is less than the absolute value of 8. That is also true. So these statements are true because the absolute value of -5 is greater than 5. The absolute value of -7 is greater than 4, and the absolute value of -8 is greater than -7. But to read these statements, know that it's the absolute value of -7 is less than the absolute value of -8. The Are You Ready for More says, using the table, name one possible height a person could be in order to go on all 3 rides. So we know here, for height, that you have to be between 55, so H has to be greater than 55, but H has to be less than 72. For this one, we know that H has to be less than 60. And for this one, H has to be greater, I wrote that wrong. H has to be less than 60, wrote that wrong. H has to be greater than or equal to 58. So I'm going to start with this first, right? So 58, because it's the one that's the most restrictive of this, and these two are really the most restrictive. So 58 is less than 60, so you could technically still ride that ride. You could also ride the Twirlo coaster. And 58 is between these numbers, so you could be 58 inches tall to ride all 3 rides. You'd also be 59 inches tall. Both of those are possibilities here. Now, once you get to 60, you can't ride all 3 rides. So that's why we have to stop. So you could be 58 inches tall or 59 inches tall. So that's the homework for today.